Like, if I were to die, my son would be Killmonger. The reason I say that is, and both of you can account for this, anybody that knows me can account for this, I'm militant. It's easily 8-9 guns in this house right now.
Well, you'd also need to have some memoirs laying around that you can find
them.
Read your diary.
Exactly. Like, and which I do, but at the same time, I look at it and I think he would be resentful at the loss of my life, depending on how I went out and depending on what I was fighting for. If I were to be in the same situation his father was in, all my son is going to know is that when things came up, and you know this as well, like if I'm upset, diplomacy is not what I resort to. Right, by default. I don't generally get into situations because I don't provoke situations, but at the same time, and that's probably one of the reasons that I relate to Killmonger so much, because my background is military. I spent the majority of my time overseas, and force is the language that I speak. It's not necessarily the correct language, and I want to make sure that that point is clear. Force is not necessarily the correct language. It is one that is universal and understood. It doesn't make it the right language. It just make it one that's spoken. And I mean, me and Rich had this debate at ends while we were sitting there chilling and eating. But the thing is that anger will make you do some things that you necessarily wouldn't do otherwise. And Killmonger was angry.
Anger or emotion?
Well, anger is an emotion.
Okay.
But let's unpack this a little bit. Because I think Killmonger wanted... I don't know if it was revenge is what he was looking for. I think it... Because revenge... what was he... I think he was waging war.
He was.
And I think he's waging war on a system.
He was.
But I think with that being said, he was also angry at the loss of his father. And those things intersect. When they intersect, it kind of becomes mania.
Right.
So he was looking to just kill people, while also I think while using the idea of overthrowing a system and giving black people dominance or supremacy.
Yeah,
I think he wanted acceptance also because his father got him, brought him to his homeland.
Absolutely right. Because I think you're a good point. Because I think he was bitter at Wakanda for not being the family that his father has built up. You know. Like the point when he says his father says he's going to take you to Wakanda, look at the sunset.
And you know what? They kind of hinted on that as well when they started talking about how they left him behind. Like
they left him.
And they left him. They didn't.
He's abandoned.
Yeah, they didn't try to bring him back. They didn't try to even explain, why. And I mean, that would have been a hard lesson to learn as a child. But they didn't try to explain why the decision was made to even kill his father. I mean, in a way, it had to be done. There might have been other ways around it. It could have been perceived as being unnecessary. But at the same time, like. When you abandon him without an explanation, you're creating something that you can't control at that point.
And now I was thinking about this till later. I was going to hold this for later, but now I feel like it works well. When we start talking about Black Americans versus Africans, is there some could it be that Ryan Coogler was trying to I guess voice some of the frustrations or just being upset, this idea that maybe we were left, like we were sold into slavery, or Black Americans were sold into slavery, and then just left there.
Well, and I was thinking about this too. This is another conversation that I had. Like, if you look at history, and I'm no historian by any means, but I'm not one of those people that's going to be like, I'm all into African American culture if I haven't researched African American culture. And before slavery began, what you had was Africans conquering and selling Africans. So basically what the Europeans did were they came in and bought Africans from other Africans. And then basically when they ran out of Africans to buy, it was like, well, we'll just take you guys. and that's how that played out. And when you look at it, like there's some resentment. If you ever talk to Africans, I don't think it's like resentment on a large scale. It's that
I think there's a fair amount of resentment, though. I've experienced some awkward resentment.
I mean, I have, but some of it, and I didn't think about this after the movie. Some of it's justified because, like, one thing that's big with African American culture is basically people stealing our culture and using it as their own. Culture
vultures.
Exactly, and in many ways, you see us doing that though to actual Africans in some aspect, right? So when you look at it from the aspect of what Africans really wear, what Africans really do, how Africans really speak, and you see African Americans try to emulate that. And in many ways, some of us are trying to connect to what our actual culture may be, but that's just not how it proceeds, because you still got, in this day and age, you got Africans that are dealing with hardships because their lands is being raped and pillaged, and they're being separated and persecuted for dumb stuff like diamonds, like material stuff that has value because we're buying it over here in America.
But the same thing happened over here.
It did.
It
did. But that's not what they're looking at. Like, I completely agree with that. And that's my point exactly. Like same thing happened over here, and we perceive it from here, and that's maybe what Killmonger was getting at. From our perspective is, we got sold into slavery. We came here. We
by you guys.
Exactly. We more or less got left behind and sold by you guys.
Killmonger was sent by the Wakanda. His family was sent by Wakanda.
Exactly. Into slavery. And the opposite end of that is, some look at it like you're emulating a culture that's not yours. And it goes deeper too, because, and I don't know why, but like this point came up, and the comment was made, and I never thought about it, because we was talking about career fields and like African cultures, and then with most African cultures, like you're Nigerian or you Ugandan or you from Ghana, like you got a couple of choices. You can be a doctor, you can be an engineer, you can be a disgrace to your family. I mean, that's just how they look at it. So they come in, generally do well, because otherwise they're just disregarded. So they look at us like, we come here, we work hard, and we can achieve these things. Why can't you? But our mindset isn't the same as theirs, because you haven't actually experienced what we've been experiencing the whole time.
And they've also worked on a foundation that's been established for years, where Black Americans still pretty new. Slavery was not that long ago.
And Jim Crow was even.
Jim Crow is still being felt.
But that is, that's social psychology in many ways, and everybody have their own perspective, but they don't want to.
I was listening to an interview with Ryan Coogler, and he was talking through the character of Killmonger, and one of the, struggles he was battling was the idea that when he went to Wakanda, they looked at him as lost.
Yeah. For his own father, and I will still wonder about that. Like when he went to the ancestral plane or whatever, and he's talking to his dad, like his own dad.
What have I done?
Yeah, kind of referring to him as lost, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, even if he is, like, I don't know if that was the right platform or the way to portray it, because it wasn't like his father wanted to be there. His father died doing what he wanted to do.
But he's saying that because that's been used towards Black people from Africans. Yeah. Because it's like when they call us African Americans, and I still remember to this day, like my family, we were family as construction, and they were partnering with this African firm on a project.
Right.
And something went wrong on the project. wasn't anyone's fault. It was just weather.
Yeah.
And I remember on the speakerphone, I heard this guy tell my dad, I should have known better than to work with niggers.
An African of descent said it to you.
Yes. And I heard it, and I looked at my father's face, and he was affected as if, like a white person would use it, because that's how it was intended.
That was the.
And I never forgot that feeling.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, are we? I guess I was young. I was like, I guess we are different.
I guess in many ways we are, but
that's the division that was created, though.
I was about to say we created that division. That wasn't.
I don't think we created the division. I think
When I say we, I'm not referring.
I think governments created that division. I think what was it? I can't think of the word, but think Britain, for example. Like powers worked to create that division.
So what I took from that movie is, although, there was some disagreements from different, I want to say villages, whatever. I need to watch the movie again. It was great, but who was the dude that was like, ooh?
Oh yeah,
the snow, the mountain,
Umbaku and his tribe.
So they came together.
The Q dogs.
Yeah.
They finally came together. So what I'll say is here.
The Omegas.
And stateside is, when I say black, I mean Africans, African descents, African Americans. If we actually come together as one, black money is fucking powerful. Period.
Yeah. We're the top consumers in the world.
We can do a lot. Like Corey said earlier about culture. Everybody wants to benefit and you know, profit from our culture, but they don't accept it.
They want to use it when it's convenient.
But I do also, and people probably hate me for saying this, we need to take some of the blame for not realizing how powerful we are.
Yeah.
When I say that is when all the whole game bang bullshit. Like I can't go on this side of town because my shirt is red or my shirt's blue or like.
And you know what's funny about that?
I don't get that part.
Yeah, like what's funny about that too though, and I've said this a dozen times since watching this movie, like when you got 95 to 98% of the viewership being African Americans or people of African descent, and it does 200+ million at opening, it's on course to do $1 billion, with still the viewership even internationally being close to 70-some odd percent of people being African American or of African descent. And you turn around and you look at the statistics and you see we spend $1 billion on Jordans. We spend the most on cars. Exactly. We spend the most on luxury brands. All we got to do is wake up tomorrow and we can shift the economy as a whole. But that that basically requires a unification on a level that something like this movie brings together. Because the reality of it is, I guarantee you that it was Bloods, Crips, Vice Lords, and everything sitting down watching Black Panther. They probably were sitting around in dashikis with everybody else and watching this movie. They all were probably sitting in the same theater, taking in the same movie, and not having an issue with it.
So, stock market for H&M crashed for the whole hoodie thing. The white
coolest monkey in the jungle hoodie.
Yeah.
Okay, so after all that stuff went viral, African Americans or African descent or whomever, we didn't spend money for a couple of weeks there, and they literally shut down about 200 stores. I read worldwide.
Yeah.
So it's impactful, whether it's just us doing it or other.
And let's talk about, I guess, the factors. And you talked about like Black people buying Jordans and all that stuff. And let's talk about the systemic way that has funneled consumerism. Because we talk about they'll tell people you need to get a house, you need to invest in stock, you need to do this, you need to do this, do that. But we also see Black people being discriminated against when it comes time to get a loan.
Yeah.
Or forced into terms that no one can survive through. Trying to get a nice place to live, like the redliner, they force you into dilapidated homes while giving the young white person that's moved in town to work, young millennial, 2% interest to move in. It's a systemic thing that has conditioned people's buying behavior.
Yeah.
And it's going to take more than people just yelling at them to do better, do more. Because where are you going to go to get it? Yeah. If you're in the hood, they're not going to let you in the door at Merrill Lynch in their office to talk to them about financial portfolios and how to build things.
Yeah. And that is a systemic issue. And I can say this from growing up on WIC and having food stamps and everything else. And I feel like I've seen every phase of it, because I feel like as I grew up, I don't feel like I was any less intelligent. I feel like the opportunities that were presented to me or that were available to me were dependent upon how much I was making. All right. And that goes back to that spending, because ironically, I probably spend half as much now as I tried to spend back when I was working at Walmart and McDonald's. Because back then you're trying to belong and you want to feel like you're making it when you're not actually making it. And now, now that I'm actually making fairly good money, and
so you're fortunate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm super fortunate, man. I'm fortunate and I'm blessed, and that's both because of my parents and both because of. And I hate to even put it this way, but it's actually partially because I've been oppressing. I don't even mean that in a good way. I mean because I realized after trying to do things